Local governments come in many different forms. Some have city managers, others give council members the power to affect change. But in Houston, the power to do anything sits in one office. The city's unusually powerful mayor has the power to set the agenda. This means that any issue that comes before council needs the mayor's approval first. This structure means that in order to get anything done, council members have to be in the mayor's favor. Even though they are independently elected officials, they don't have the freedom to deliver for the communities they are elected to represent. This often leads to council members seeking a mayor's approval to work on particular issues. In most other cities, council members can freely champion issues they believe in or that their community needs, but not in Houston. It's time to change that. Communities deserve a voice, and this charter amendment will give them that. We want to allow any 3 city council members to join together to place an item on the agenda. It would still have to be passed by the full council, but council members would now be free to work on issues that are important to their communities. It gives them the ability to actually represent the needs of the citizens who elected them. What we've been talking about today a lot is this strong mayor form of government. I kind of want to get your perspective on that, what that means to you and what you've seen here in the city of Houston and in other cities.
One of the basic principles of our government in the United States is checks and balances. And we don't have many checks on the mayor's power under this city form of government. And I think that's not served us well. So I think we need to put some things in place that will do that.
Having the strong form of mayor government, it sets up sort of a subservient kind of situation. Everybody in the city has essentially 6 council members, your district council member, and then 5 at-large council members. But in that situation, if you have one person that has all the say-so, all the power to put something on the agenda to be voted on, it really just takes away all that representation that you voted for.
We hear from council members that their hands are tied because they can't put any items on the city council agenda. And what does that mean for the ordinary Houstonian? It means that if you have an issue, it can't be discussed or it can't be fixed. And so really what this initiative and this petition does is empower the citizens to empower those that are elected to represent them, to bring those issues to city council so we can get them fixed.
How do we get involved and how do we solve some of these problems? And the conclusion that we often found is that it's very daunting and it's somewhat a barrier to entry. Having that representation, it's easier to get in touch with your city council member and have them put something together as opposed to getting in touch with the mayor of the 4th largest city in America and pleading with him to put something on the agenda.
You're not sending someone to council to vote on what may be good for the mayor of the city. Voters vote for representatives to give what they need from their district to that council member. Once it's given to that council member, but when you have a strong mayoral forum, it may never get on the agenda.
A lot of the conversation has been around the idea of taking power away from there, but it's not so much taking power away from the mayor, it's empowering the council members to actually be able to deliver on the things that they run on.
Number one, it takes away the excuse you can use as a council member to say, well, you know, I can't get the mayor to put it on the agenda. And indeed, if every one of us has essentially 6 council members, if you have something that's important, you should be able to go to those council members, and amongst them, they should be able to get 3 people agreeing with you and on your plan, and you ought to be able to advocate for it and put it on the agenda.
If there's many of us that are involved and we can't have the excuse of, well, it's too hard, that allows everybody to have more equal and more correct representation.
In politics, we tend to talk about issues all the time. What the founders were really worried about was governing structures, because those are the things that affect outcomes for decades and centuries into the future. And one of the basic principles, in America at least, is this idea of checks and balances. And we clearly have ended up with a governing structure in the city of Houston for a lot of historical reasons, that the mayor occupies both the legislative and the executive branch, is the head of both of them, and it's out of kilter.
Let's just take what happened here recently. Our whole water system went down. I haven't seen anything, a report or anything, a committee. I mean, nothing on what happened. I know we've been focused on the electricity, but if you had 3 council members right now that said, I want to discuss this, I want to move this forward and find out what happened, how do we fix the issues, you would be able to be the best advocate for the people that elected you.
Diversity of thought is just as important as any other type of diversity, because not everybody from a certain group thinks in a uniform way. Allowing us to petition our council member will allow it to become easier to redress any concerns that we see on a local level. The politics that has the most effect on the individual is local.
We don't solve problems by ignoring them. We solve problems by empowering those that we elect to bring those issues to council.
If you were talking to folks, what would be your message to them as to why they should support this?
I have spoken to some newly elected members of City Council, and it is wearing on their soul because it was not what they expected. But if you change this, it definitely will give voices to people whom I feel are voiceless. This last election showed us voting matters. It does. So since voting matters and you want your vote to have a voice, this is how you give your vote a voice around the city of Houston.
This reform is not about one individual, it's about empowering communities. If you want your community to have a voice at City Hall and you want your council members to deliver on the issues that matter to you, join the coalition. Visit hcapinfo.com.